Hi there, Phil Simborg with a lesson about gammon go and gammon save. For those of you who aren't familiar with the terms, if you are at a score where it's very important to win a gammon, for example, a gammon will win you the match, and it doesn't matter at all if you get gammoned, you're on gammon go. You want to go for the gammon. You want to win the game, you don't want to lose the game, but if you can win a gammon, it wins you the match. Usually a classic score would be if you're 2 away and your opponent is 1 away, and it's Crawford. In other words, at Crawford you can't double. And that's the score I'm showing right now. Blue needs to win 2 points to win the match, and red only needs 1 point to win the match, so blue is on gammon go. If he can win a gammon, he'll win the match. His gammon value, the value of winning a gammon, is 1.0. It's the same as losing or winning the game, which cost him the match. On the other hand, red is on gammon save. If he loses a gammon, he loses the match. If he wins a gammon, it means nothing because he only needs 1 point to win the game. So he's on gammon save. Your strategy is very different at both scores. Well, let's take this opening roll. You're red, you would like to win the game, but you also don't want to get gammoned. What's the right play? How would you play your 4-3 opening play? Okay, your strategy is this. If early in the game you can make an advanced anchor in your opponent's side of the board, if you can make his 4 point, or his 3 point, or his 7 point, your chances of getting gammoned are very small. They're not tiny. You can still get gammoned if you get hit enough, but they go down pretty close to 4 or 5% or even less if you can make the advanced anchor. You don't care about winning gammon, so you don't want to play aggressively. If you're on gammon go, for example, if blue had a 4-3, the play's easy. He wants to stop his opponent from making an advanced anchor. He wants to get into a hitting game. He'd like to play a blitzing game. He would like to attack. So he would bring 2 checkers down. Let's put it on the arrow. And you can see that his best play is to bring 2 checkers down. Now, if his opponent starts splitting, he's got a lot of attacking to do. He's got a very good chance to start making points and play a really strong hitting or priming game. But if you're the one that's on gammon save, and you don't want to get gammoned, and you want to make an advanced anchor, you really want to split your checkers now before he has a chance to start making points or bringing builders down. So you really want to split the checkers. And the answer is you split with the 3 and bring the 4 down. And as you can see, it's very, very close. 0.004 to split with the 4 and come to here, make this play. The difference, of course, here, you would rather make his 5 point, but it's more likely to get hit here with 1s, 3s, and 8s than to get hit here with 2s, 4s, and 9s. There are just more 1s, 3s, and 8s than there are 2, 4s, and 9s because of the number of 8s. And also, if he hits you here loose and he's successful in making this point, he's gained a much more strategic point that hurts you more than if he hits you here and ends up making this point. So that's why that split is right. That's the theory of gammon go and gammon save. And if you can see that it really makes a difference on the opening rolls, you can see how much it makes a difference on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th roll. So we study this very carefully to understand why we're making these plays differently at the very beginning of the game, so we know better how to make them later in the game. Now, take a look at the play number 3. This play, bringing both checkers up, let's see what it looks like, is wrong by 0.006. But my good friend and one of my mentors, Joe Sylvester, who's one of the great players of all times, who still is a very, very fine player, he just doesn't play a lot for personal reasons and the fact that he's getting into poker and doing other things with his life. But when he does play, watch out. He shows up every now and then at a tournament, and he seems to win them almost every time. He's still a great player. I had the pleasure of having Joe as a house guest for a while, and he was really showing me a lot of his strategy. And he likes this play. And one of the reasons he likes this play is because he thinks that even if he gets pointed on or hit, he's much more likely to make the other point very, very quickly, and he's going to make this advanced anchor more quickly. Now, why does Extreme Gammon say that it's wrong by 0.006, which isn't a lot, by the way? The reason it's wrong is because Extreme Gammon knows how to play the next roll. He knows how to play. He's assuming that your opponent is going to play perfectly. And if your opponent plays perfectly, this is a slightly worse play. But most of us are lucky enough that when we sit down to play, we're not playing someone who knows how to play perfectly. The top open players, and Extreme Gammon knows the responses. It knows what to do after you've made this play. Let's say we make this play. Let's go ahead and make it. Let's put this on arrow. And now, let's say that blue rolls a 3-2. Well, I think most players are good enough. I'm sorry, blue's on roll with a 3-2. Most players are good enough to know that they're going to hit. Should they hit here or here? It's not an easy decision. If you hit with the 2, you have more builders and you haven't stripped your 8 point. If you hit with the 3, now you've stripped your 8 point some, but you're hitting a better place, but you're going to get hit back more. This is not an easy decision. Some players, I'm sure intermediate or below, might not hit at all, but that would be very, very wrong. But how many people know that the right play is to hit them both? And look at this, it's a 10% error not to hit them both. It's a huge blunder. So Sly says, I'm going to make a 0.06 error and get my opponent to make a 10% error in response. And I picked up 10% on the exchange. Well, I know that Sly doesn't have that low an opinion of other giants and top players that he's likely to meet in the finals of a major tournament, so maybe he's still not making this play against them. But maybe he still is for another reason. This is a more complicated game. This game leads to a more complicated position, and if you're better than your opponent, no matter what the score, you have somewhat of an advantage the more complicated the game is. Well, Joe believes he can play the checkers as well or better than most everybody he plays, and he's proven that that's true. So for him, playing positions that are more complicated come into play. So what have we learned? We've learned that there is a different strategy for gammon go and gammon save, but we've also learned from Joe and from other masters that you have to play the human factor, that you need to have your game suited to adjust to the fact that you're not always playing a bot, that you're playing a human. Now, it's a real dangerous thing to intentionally make plays that you know are not the optimum play according to Extreme Gammon, because Extreme Gammon really is as good or better than any human in the world. All the top players would be willing to bet on Extreme Gammon over anybody. However, you should change your game some here and there based on your opponent, whether they're better or worse than you, whether the position is complicated or not. But the word change is the key word. How do you know how to change it until you have first learned what is right? So first, concentrate on what's the best play and why it's the best play before you start making adjustments. Now, in the case of the initial position I showed you, it really didn't matter that much which way you played the 4-3 as long as you split and as long as you helped yourself make an advanced anchor. And if you understand the thinking and the reasoning why, and that's why we study the first and second rolls so much, because when you get to the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth rolls, it can become even bigger to know the right theory about how you're trying to save gammons or how you're trying to go after gammons. I hope this is helpful to you. I hope to have made you understand that in addition to normal checker player, what we call normal match scores, you have some unusual situations or different scores where you need to adjust your checker play thinking. And gammon go and gammon save are two of those. There's one more. It's double match point. When gammons don't matter at all, and all you care about is winning the game, you have a whole different set of rules of how you play for double match point, and it affects even the opening rolls on that as well. I'll save that for another video. Thanks for watching, and thanks for your support of the USBGF. See you all soon. Bye-bye.